Hi there, Shubh on this side, founder of Musicstaan and mostly host of all the podcast episodes you listen and hear. Well, in this very episode, we have with us the very lovely Shubh Saran. Shubh is a guitar player, composer, music educator, and whatnot. He has been touring with his band for more than a decade now and has been playing shows in different countries, touring. And in this episode, he shares all of his experiences and all of the things he has learned through his journey of his music career. Whatever he has learned in this podcast episode for all of you to hear and learn from that. So I hope you'll gain a lot of knowledge and valuable insights that you can apply in your area and your creative aspects of life. And as always, thank you so much for your support. It's been a very long while and we've created more than 4,000 minutes of podcast episode. We have had a Grammy Award winning musicians, producers, artists, entrepreneurs, innovators from all creative aspects and fields, all because of you guys. You guys watch and that's what matters. Thank you so much once again. I'm telling this beforehand, I know, but thank you so much for watching and I hope you gain a lot of valuable insights from this podcast episode. Cheers and let's deep dive into it.
Well, hello to the good people, noble viewers over the internet. Today we have with us the very lovely Shubh Saran. He doesn't need an introduction because he's a guitar player based out of New York, music composer, educator and whatnot, a maestro. Thank you so much, Shubh, for taking the time out to join for this and doing this.
You're welcome. I'm no maestro, but thank you. No one's ever called me a maestro before, so that's.
No, I did. So send me some.
Thank you.
You're in Delhi. Send me some good food.
I'll send you some good food. Yeah.
I'll
send you the local food of our people, which is butter chicken and whiskey.
Oh yes, I love it. It's been a while I've had whiskey.
Nice, yeah. I'm not a big whiskey guy. I can't do hard liquor.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, if I have to bombard you with questions, what I saw by stalking you basically is you have been grown up in 6 different countries during your childhood.
Yeah, not at the same time.
Not at the same time. Okay,
different times. Yeah.
What about that cultural bombardments and the areas of things you've seen while growing up? Like take us through the childhood, like how a day in the life of Shubh when he was 5 years old.
Oh man, it was jam-packed. It was wild. I grew up. My folks are both now retired government officers for the Indian government. So their career involved them moving every 3 years. So we moved. I was born in Bangladesh, and then I moved to the US when I was a baby. Don't remember that. And then I moved back to India, and I also was here till 2nd grade, class 2. So again, memories are a little hazy, but that was enough for a kid to remember where they're from. And then we lived in Cairo and Geneva, Cairo in Egypt, and then Geneva, Switzerland. And then I came back to India for high school. And then I was here for like 4 years, class 9 to 12. And then when I graduated, then I moved out again. So then I moved to Canada for a year, and then I moved to Boston for music school. And then after Boston, I moved to New York, and I've been in New York since 2014. So I've been there for like 9 years. And now currently New York is home. Delhi is also home because this is where my parents and family and everyone live, and I'm here if not once a year, then definitely twice a year. And then otherwise I'm just in the States, in New York mostly.
So basically, in a nutshell, you've been a traveler from day one.
Yeah, kinda. Now I'm like settled more. So starting maybe my early 20s, I settled in New York, and now I've just been there. And it's a perfect city because it's it's a city full of people like me who just come from somewhere else. It's just a city full of transplants, similar to like Bombay would be or something. It's just like there's just a bunch of young people who have left home to pursue something, and that's kind of what the city feels like. It's made up of a lot, obviously not entirely, but a lot of the folks are that. So it's good to be in that environment sometimes too. It feels like home. Yeah,
that's inspiring.
Thanks.
Do you kind of remember what did you play instruments when you were a kid? What were you inclined to? Studies? You were a studies person?
Well, I mean, not exactly, but I don't think people are it's a tough question because I didn't do well in high school, but I was always interested in, I mean, I think that's like a prerequisite of like musicians or something. There's like a, I used to think I was just lazy, but I think there's like a certain level of like disobedience you have to have if you're pursuing something creative or something that you're doing on your own. So like, you know, I just wouldn't like to do the stuff that was imposed on me. But like everything else, I would spend hours on. Like I would spend hours working on music, or I'd spend hours researching random little things I was interested in. So in that way, I was studious, but just not in the way that like I think my, you know, CBSE teachers would define studious. But I think I just like, I've heard this story from so many musicians where it's always like, yeah, I wasn't that good at school, wasn't that interested. That I don't think it's because musicians are inherently lazy or something. I think it's just there has to be a certain level of like disobedience to the norm wired into musicians, so that then we can go on and pursue creative things that we're not supposed to, and accidentally run into things that are interesting. And so in that way, I think yes and no, but judging by my grades in high school, I was not studious.
Listen that, musicians.
Yeah.
It's not necessary. And now it's not necessary at all.
Yeah.
I've seen it sound like a law, you know? Like I've seen creative people have this shitty background of like, you know, I was not good in studies, or I was broke or something of that sort. And then they go on to do something kind of remarkable, like they're good in their field, remarkable and very extraordinary in their field, whatever it's sports, music, art, business, whatever it is.
Oh yeah, I mean what we do, and maybe not like what I'm saying what I do, but like generally this creative field and music and whatever else requires like a really high degree of discipline, motivation, whatever, you know, just being highly organized, which things you associate with studious folks in high school. But there's, I mean, yeah, I think the high school stuff and the relationship you have with studying bears very little on what happens later in your life. I think once you find the stuff that really moves you and excites you, then you'll be like super motivated to do it and disciplined and all the things that are required. I think just high school tends to leave, especially the CBSE education system that I did, especially that.
Oh, you were also on CBSE.
I was also CBSE because I was in Delhi, and it tends to leave a lot of folks behind. Just in terms of like, I'm not saying we should all be studying like arts and this and that, but like it's so specific, you know. And there's such a huge bias with like what is considered important and what's considered dumb, that like, it just leaves so many folks behind, you know. So I think that's basically what the issue is. But I mean, I'll get started on all my high school trauma if you ask me more. So I'll cut it there.
Let's go.
So I was, But to answer your question about musical instruments, when I was a kid, I used to play piano. My brother plays piano, so like I also played piano because of him. And then, you know, from like maybe I started learning when I was 7 or 8, and then at like 11 or 12, I switched to guitar. And then I played drum set for a bit, and then I switched to guitar. And since then, it's just my guitar.
Why do guitar players start with piano?
I think piano is like an instrument that parents are like, oh, we should put our kid into music lessons. Piano makes the most sense. It's also the easiest, I think, tactile instrument. I'm not saying it's the easiest instrument. It's a very difficult instrument, but it's like the easiest instrument because you're just pressing like keys literally, and it's making sounds.
And
like guitar, you have to like
octaves
press the string. Yeah, exactly. It's all like laid out for you. You can like visualize it. So that way, it's a good instrument to like visualize music and learn music, I think. So that's why.
Like when you entered into the world of guitar, you were like, oh wait, this is the most dynamic instrument in the world. Yes.
Yeah, it's the most confusing instrument.
The same minor pentatonic scale across 5 different areas. Great.
Well that I've been doing since I was 12, and I'm still playing the same minor pentatonic shape all over the guitar.
And that's kind of the, like, you know, the piano kind of gives you a scratch idea about acha. Like this is probably how it's laid out, but on different instruments it may vary. But the overall dynamic range is kind of same, like the bass structure. Yeah,
absolutely. And it helps you like understand octaves and intervals and fifths and stuff. It's easy because it's like the positioning of your hands. And then like, I mean, when you go to any other instrument, I think it helps. I think it just helps you like learn, hear harmony and this and that. The guitar obviously is like the most confusing instrument in the world. It's like, just laid out in an insane way. Are you a guitar player also?
Yeah, I'm a guitar player.
Yeah, it's just like the most ridiculous instrument. It's still confusing to me. Like, I've been playing the guitar since I was 11 or 12. And I've been actively working at getting better at the guitar. And there's still like moments where I just sometimes look at the fretboard and I'm like, what note is this? And then I'm like, oh yeah,
it's brown note.
Because it's just it's like So I don't know. I don't think that ever changes though. I think
I guess when we'll be 70 years old and still be like playing some 90s rock and roll and blues, we'll be like, okay, where's the Cage system now?
Yeah, exactly. When you're 70, you finally be like, oh, that's an F sharp on the G string.
I didn't realize this until 60 years. What the heck am I doing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Or like anything past like fret number 15 is like, I don't know what this is. Yeah.
It's an epiphany.
Yeah. It's an epiphone.
Interesting. How many hours do you spend in playing and understanding or honing the craft? I don't use the word practicing, but honing the craft.
How many hours a day? How many hours cumulatively in my life?
Let's start with the day one.
Yeah, because the second one I don't know the answer. Per day, that's a really good question. It like fluctuates. These days I practice maybe like 1 to 2 hours. Practice. Which is not much, but then I have to do a lot of other like guitar work. So like I'm learning music or like I'm playing gigs. So in terms of cumulative playing time per day, it's more. But in terms of me sitting down and running through stuff that I'm like currently working on, it's 2 hours. Which is kind of like interesting because when I was a kid, I thought I used to play like in high school. I used to play all day. I used to come back from school and then just like play all day, and it was like a source of like pride that I would like play for like 6 hours a day,
and get away from those annoying friends of yours.
Yeah, so annoying. My God, yeah. But I would practice for like hours and be really happy that I was practicing for hours. But I think when you get, which is good as a kid. I mean, it's because that's the only thing you want to do. But as I started playing more and more time has passed, I think you get better at like honing in on what you need to practice. So the cumulative amount of time you practice per day gets less, but like the quality of that practice gets exponentially more.
Yeah.
You're able to like hit target areas much quicker. So I think that's what's happened. So now I practice 1 or 2 hours. I used to play a lot more. In music school, obviously you're like surrounded by music, so you're playing kind of all the time. So yeah, I mean that's kind of like it's gotten less actually, the amount of time I spend practicing. But what I get from that I think has maybe gotten more. Like I see improvements quicker with things that I am struggling with,
Yeah. So you've got this clarity about quality of practice other than the quantity.
Yeah, exactly. And you're able to like, it's kind of like a doctor or like something where you can like diagnose exactly what your problem is. Not to say that we are anything like doctors. We are far less qualified to do anything real.
And educated.
But I'm far less educated. But if I can make the analogy in a very specific way of the way doctors diagnose a problem, I think if you're like if you're a kid, you're like, oh, I don't like the way I play generally. I hate the way I sound. And you don't know what it is about the way you sound. So you'll just keep playing until you think you sound better. But when you get older, I think you're able to just say, I don't like the way I sound in this very specific context. Like I think when I play this little chromatic run going down, it gets a little bit out of time because my third and fourth fingers don't feel as things. So then you can practice that specifically for like 2 weeks, and then you notice like a huge difference actually. So I think you just get better at like fixing the little things.
So become the doctor of the guitar, basically.
Yeah. So to all your young audiences, it's good to get old. All right. It's good to age.
Fine.
Yeah, well, I'm only saying that because I am getting older. That's that's what it is. Yeah.
Interesting. What were your listening habits when you were starting to play the guitar? Like what artists, bands you listen to?
When I started playing guitar. I think I started playing guitar because of what I was listening to. So it was a lot of like Blink 182, Sum 41,
Oh yeah.
Green Day, Simple Plan. That like I was started playing in the early 2000s. So that was like pop music in 2000s. It was like guitar driven music. So it was that. It was like a lot of just punk rock. I mean, people will call it pop punk now. I don't think anyone calls it punk rock, but in my mind, it was punk rock at the time. And the energy was very punk rock because all the songs were about like F this and whatever and just play the guitar all day. So that's the ethos that I like started playing the guitar with. And a lot of the ethos was like, it doesn't matter, don't focus on like being a good guitar player, just play the crap out of these power chords and that's it. Yeah, just play the crap out of the power chords and that's it. Put on distortion and you're having a great time. And that's kind of how I started playing because I was like, this is exactly the kind of thing I want to do. And so it wasn't like Guitar Heroes. I didn't start off playing, shredding music and stuff, which I regret now, but, and then later on I like found, some of the more shreddy people, Steve Vai, Satriani, and then
I'm blown off.
Yeah, and there was just, but that was like, there were specific things that really, really moved me. And so I picked on those. And then when I discovered like Indian fusion music, that was like a big change for me, like Shakti, Indian Ocean, and, bands like that. Prasanna. And then, like Big John Mayer phase.
Oh, yeah.
And then by that time I had gone to music school. And so then music school was a whole different thing.
And then we had the very lovely Guthrie Govan. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Guthrie Govan. I actually didn't know about Guthrie Govan until I went to music school, and then he came to Berkeley for like a show and a workshop, and I was like, man, this guy is the truth.
Oh my god, like out of this world.
Yeah, dude. I mean, his playing was obviously like unreal, but even more than his playing, I think his workshop was like, it was amazing because he just
pinpoints everything out clearly.
Yeah, and it was the whole thing was just like, it just use your ears, don't get so hung up on like trying to put theory before the guitar. He's self-taught, I think, or he's not like a academic music guy. He's just a very good guitar player with very, very good ears. And that was his whole thing, is just do it by ear, learn it by ear, just use your ears. And I was like, yeah, like what the heck? That's the most obvious thing, but that's yeah.
Like he has this kind of quote that, all I want to do is play the music I hear in my head. So whatever chops I need, exactly. I need to develop that to play this music onto my instrument.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the music in the head is insane. That means, but
I was about to say that.
Yeah. But it's true. I mean, it really is true. Like that's like that's what I've tried to truly encompass. And it's he said this, and many other people who I look up to a lot, who I resonate with a lot, have kind of said a version of this, or at least embody a version of that, which is just like, play the music that's in your head, and that'll be the most authentic, that'll be the most real, that'll be the most exciting. And I've truly tried to do that with like very intentionally tried to do that for like basically my whole career.
I go on. When do you, like, the interesting question which generally I have and a lot of artists really have, when did you think of making this as a career? Like, okay, I'll be a career for guitar player, I'll do session work, I'll do it with bands and play music for a living. How did that happen? You sat down with a pen, paper, discuss with your family, or just, I'm gonna do it, whatever it takes, kind of a thing?
Yeah, no, not really. When I was young, when I was a kid, like 14, 15, I remember reading about Green Day's Billy Joe Armstrong, Green Day's guitar player, and he started playing gigs and stuff. Like, he had a record deal when he was really young, so I was like, oh, I can do that too, because I'm also like young. And then I remember telling my parents I want to be a musician. I don't know what that means, and obviously everyone was like, "You're 15, just relax, just focus on school."
Shut up.
But yeah. But then, like, I think something about that. Like, I had so many phases growing up as a kid, which I think a lot of creative kids do. It's like, I want to be a scientist, and then it's like, no, I want to be a painter. No, I want to be a this, and you always get out of that phase. I think music was going to be similar. Everyone thought music was going to be the same, but something about the music thing stuck, and I ended up just kind of pursuing it on my own, like doing a lot of research on my own. I remember I tried to like apply to Berkeley when I was really like too young, like 16 or something.
Wow.
But then because I applied, I couldn't pay the application fee, obviously, because I wasn't telling anybody. But then they sent me all this like prospective student material. Like they shipped it from Boston to India, which is they really
Crazy.
want kids to go to Berkeley, and it worked because they sent me these like prospective students brochures and stuff. And so I would just read up on Berkeley and this and that so much. When I finally went to college, I went to the University of Toronto, in Toronto for a year. But then while I was there, I was just like miserable. And then I told my parents, and it's my parents' idea to be like, okay, fine, this school you've been talking about, Berkeley, just go there for a summer program and just see what it's like. And so then I went for a summer program. I like just like it like I fell in love with literally every aspect of it. Like I was there for a summer, so I knew it was limited, so I made like the fullest use I think that I could have. And at the end of the summer program, it was like clear to everybody that like, okay, I should just go here. So then I applied and auditioned and everything.
How did the audition process go? That's a tough one.
It was good actually. It was tough, but like because I had been there, I actually did the audition the day after I finished my 3-month summer program at Berkeley. So I applied to Berkeley while sitting at the Berkeley Library actually, which is a little sad because I was like, if I don't get in, then I have to basically leave this place that I've like completely fallen in love with over the past 3 months. So that was actually the thing that was riding on me, because I didn't doubt my like ability at the time, because I had been at Berkeley for 3 months and I was doing well in my classes and I was playing with students. So I was like, if I belong here with other full-time students, then surely I can convince the auditioners that I should be here. And luckily the audition went well. But yeah, it was just freaky because I didn't know I was going to come back. But the audition was okay. Yeah, it actually wasn't. I mean, I think I was prepped because I was at Berkeley, literally studying with the teachers who were like doing the auditions. So it was okay. But then, yeah, when I was at Berkeley and like in music school, then the idea of it being a career and all that stuff starts to it's an automatic thing. You don't have to declare it to anybody. It's just now it becomes fairly obvious that because you're studying music, you will work in the music industry in some capacity. And so that was kind of, yeah. It was a little more automatic. It wasn't super, yeah. But it was my parents who told me to go to the summer program, actually. It wasn't even my idea.
Wow.
Like when they saw that I was miserable, they were like, okay, fine. Like, obviously, we don't want you to be miserable, studying whatever. So go do something you like. So, yeah.
That's the kind of parents now we're having, but back then it was one in a mankind.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely. They obviously, when I was a kid, there was resistance because it's just you don't know. They're like,
they know life much more than the 15-year-old kid. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. Like no one knew what I was talking about. They're also like family of civil servants, and so they had job security since they were like 24,
say I'll be a musician. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just an alien concept. But I mean, the minute I went to music school, and since then they're mega fans. I had a show last night in Delhi. They were there for both sets, and in Bombay they were there for that also. So they're like in it. They're more in it than I am. Yeah.
Probably if you're having a podcast right now, your mom will be, wait, why you go? I know more than you know yourself. Let me go.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, honestly, yeah, probably. Yeah. yeah.
That's really sweet having that kind of supportive.
Yeah, it's nice. I'm very lucky. I'm very fortunate. Yeah. Yeah.
And being in Berkeley, there are a lot of smart people than us. A lot of smart people, innovative people across entire thing. According to scale, if I would like 1 to 10, how much do you think is it important having smart people? Let me phrase the word: smart in the sense in the creative field. Smart innovators, people around you, for you to become something, to realize your potential in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think it's critical. I think it's super. I mean, I can't understate. I can't understate the importance.
Do I look that educated?
You know what? I certainly am not. So
And do
I can't
put it in
overstate
parents?
the importance. Yeah. I can't. I think the word is overstate. Let's okay.
Uh-huh.
Podcast
Whatever the
editor,
hell
just
it is,
cut
yeah.
all this. Cut all this. Whoever's editing this, cut this so I seem smart. I can't. This is take two. I can't overstate the importance of being surrounded by very, very smart people. And how you define smart as like innovative, creatively intelligent people. And I think even more so than like prodigious people. I could be wrong here. I might be going out on a limb saying this, but I think even more than having like crazy amazing players, which of course you need to have, I think being surrounded by people who are just highly creative is like it's incredible. It's just truly, I've been very fortunate to be surrounded by very, very creative people, and also people who are very good at their instruments and music and stuff. It's the only reason why I've been able to do anything that I've been done. Anything that I would claim to be an achievement, the only reason is because I've been surrounded by a community of people who are like highly motivated, highly creatively intelligent, and very professional.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. So
that's
I can't,
like-
yeah, I can't say enough about that.
Understate.
I can't understate the importance. I can't overstate the importance.
I'll not
of,
cut this part.
yeah.
This is the fun part.
I'm pretty sure it's overstate because I'm not in danger of overstating it, so I can't overstate. Yes.
But rest assured, I'm not gonna cut this part.
That's fine. You know, but this is why I play guitar for a living and I don't do anything else.
Listen, that you what?
Yeah.
Oh, so the importance is very, very high. It's like 10 out of 10 having that kind of people
I think so.
surrounding you.
Yeah.
That inspire and spark you all the time. Like, okay, this is not the right. This can be done. One thing can be done 10 million different ways in 10 different million ways.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think just being surrounded by people who are taking risks and being creative. Like you don't have to, like, the thing is not to copy those people or even learn from those people, but you're just like seeing other people do things. It just inspires you to do your own thing. If you see someone doing well or being happy or being successful with a certain approach, oftentimes it makes you want to maybe either copy that approach, but oftentimes it makes you just want to dig further into yourself and say, okay, well, what is it about me that I can present that's authentic to me? Just like this person found something that's authentic to them, what can I do the same thing for me? That's usually the effect that it has. When you're surrounded by people who are very, very good, you just want to be like them, but in your own way. And that, I think, is like the best thing, you know?
I'll say, like, even if you copy your idol or, you know, a successful person you admire, it's not necessary that it's going to work out for yourself, because the person that has done it is completely different than you are normally.
Oh yeah, 100%. There's a really good quote. I think it's a John Mayer thing actually, but I don't know. I don't remember. But long time ago, I remember him saying like the way you sound and this is more specific to like playing, but the way you sound as a guitar player is basically your failure to copy your heroes. And your failure to copy your heroes is basically the way that you sound. And it's so accurate because in my effort to sound like Derek Trucks has resulted in some version of something that I play that is very authentic to me. It's like you kind of miss the mark on being exactly like Derek Trucks, because there's no way you will ever be exactly like Derek Trucks because you're not Derek Trucks.
But you can be sure.
Your pursuit to be like Derek Trucks, you actually end up finding the piece of yourself that is important. But you have to have that pursuit in trying to be like Derek Trucks, so you have to have the pursuit in trying to be like somebody else. And the failure in actually becoming that person is what results in your own thing, in your own sound. And I people might disagree with me, but I do think that there's some value in that, and I do agree with it to a certain degree.
Okay. I agree. Yeah. And that's a very beautiful quote. It dives down into the deep meanings.
Yeah. It could be John Mayer. It could be I made it up. I don't know.
But it's good.
No, I'm kidding. I didn't make it up. I don't know the difference between overstate and understate, so I definitely didn't make it up.
Again, the overstate understate business. Pretty interesting. A lot of kind of aspiring artists have this question that, okay, I've been in the music industry, or people who don't generally have this idea that, you know, I'm gonna play music for a living or something of that sort. But people think that you sit in a room and play your instrument and people fund you or to pay you bills by God's grace or something. But the people who are inside the industry knows the game is completely different than what people who are not thinks, right? So basically, how do you explain that to a beginner artist or an intermediate level artist who has not gone to that kind of a stage but are wondering like what the heck goes on inside, so that they can have a scratch idea? Okay, this is the ideal scenario that happens. So, but when I go inside that, I should be familiar with that. Okay, I knew this beforehand.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know even how much I'm entrenched in the industry, but like even just from seeing it from an outside perspective, like just from my own work, because there's so many different things you can do as a performer with, you know, who's aspiring to be like an artist. I mean, I'm an artist, but like as a performer who wants to make my own band, very much priority. I think the first thing maybe something you don't realize going into it is that you need to do a lot all the time with just other gigs. So like making it work as a gigging musician, I don't just tour with my band and that sustains me for the full year. One day it might, I hope. That's definitely the goal. But, you know, I do a lot of gigs and I play with a lot of different people. And some of them are because I love the projects I'm in, and some of them are because I just need the paycheck. I need to do it for the money. You know, so like I'll do commercial gigs and wedding gigs. They're fun, obviously. I like to play with people, but like, you know, you do because you need a paycheck, which is fine. That you just work. And then I do these other bigger shows for work, and then I also tour with bands that I really love. And off late, it's kind of we're in a nice place where, because we've been doing it for about 10 to 12 years, the bands I'm in have also started touring a lot, and they're also actually making some money, and they're able to pay the musicians in the bands. And so that also has kind of become a little bit more economically viable to do that. So a combination of all those things is what allows me to be a musician. And then as a musician, I choose then to take a lot of that money that I make, and I don't spend it on life things too much. I just spend it back into my own band and my own project, which allows me to make albums, write music, which allows me to tour with my band, have a band, you know. And so that's kind of what I didn't know going in, which was that I fueled a lot of my Shubh Saran as a artist thing by doing a lot of just session musician gigging stuff. And that's just the way I choose to live my life as a musician. There's a lot of folks who don't have like a band and aren't band leaders, and so they spend their money on different ways. They might spend their money on life things. Maybe they'll like buy a house, or they'll buy a car, or whatever else, or spend it in whatever other ways. That's kind of how I deal with it. It goes from one place and goes into the other. Largely, obviously, I live in a home and I eat, so those basic requirements are met. I'm saying beyond that.
So people Shubh eats. He's not an alien.
I do live under a bridge, and I eat one meal a month, but I have a band, so that's what I have going for me. So that's one thing that I slowly came to learn as, maybe 5-6 years into being a musician. And then the other thing is, if you want to, what I'm now realizing as like an artist, as a band leader, as an artist, or whatever you want to call it, in today's day and age, it's really about how much you put out. So I do think there's exceptions to the rule where like you release a record and it does extremely well, and then you are kind of good, and you've entered into the track of being like, you get picked up by big booking agents, or you get picked up by whatever festivals and stuff because of the waves your album makes. But I think by and large, it's now become about how much you release. So you do have to continuously, consistently be active. And so that could mean playing the Instagram game. That could be playing the Spotify game, which is releasing music on Spotify. Or that could just mean like performing a lot, gigging a lot. And each of those ways to do it, I think there's like different levels of doing it. But just again, in my example of the gigging, playing with my band example, I would say the next stage for me would be to get like a booking agent. Because I've been kind of playing a bunch, and now the kind of venues that I need access to and the festivals that I'd like to play in require the next level of professionalism, which is like a tier of where you have a booking agent who then books you in different places, see how you sell, and if you sell well in the markets, then you continue to get booked. And then festivals see that you're doing well, so when your booking agents purchase festivals, then you can be in those festivals. And it's kind of, that is the next tier where you have someone booking for you, and then you have someone maybe managing you, so you have someone else coming in. So there's different tiers of it, but until you get to these different tiers, I think a lot of it is just doing it yourself. So like I made the decision, which I now realize maybe was a good decision, but at the time I did not know if it was going to be a good or bad decision. I just said I'm going to prioritize my band. Like in 2016, I realized that that's all I wanted to do. Musically, that like big, large goal, when people ask me, you get asked a lot, what's your goal, dream as a musician, which you never really know. But the one simple answer I could answer is that I want to just do my own thing. I want to be able to write and tour with my own band, basically almost exclusively if possible. Like if that could be my career, I'd be very, very happy. So I just decided to prioritize my band and my music in 2016. And since then, I just have released records, and I would release records without anyone asking me to release anything. It's just all self-imposed. Release records, self-imposed tours, self-imposed posting on Instagram. No one's telling me to do anything. And it's reached a point now, luckily, where people actually want to listen to music and want to come to shows, and it's nuts that that's the case. But I think just doing it, getting out and doing it yourself, I think was the big one. Like I used to be sad that no one would ask me to, play my music or something. And you realize that no one's really going to ask you until they see that you're doing it yourself anyways. So the doing it yourself part is a big thing. And consistently is what I didn't realize. Like, I mean, I can go on about this forever, but like, I think the big thing, and this is of course much more of a philosophical thing than a practical, musical thing, but consistency, I think I'm realizing, is above all else. So it's even above having like a big album that basically makes like huge waves. That is obviously good. That's all what we hope for. But what happens the day after that record comes out? What happens the day after that album has now started to fall back down? People stop listening to that record. It's about consistently basically having a release thing, or consistently touring, or consistently doing something. You have to consistently be writing, or that consistency is what I think over a long term it allows you to have the career you want. And I think oftentimes we're told that it needs to be like, once you win the Grammy, then you're good. Like you win a Grammy and then you're set. And that's obviously not the case, because I know so many, we all know so many folks who won Grammys who we never listen to anymore. Like all the bands in the 2000s and stuff, you know what I mean? And so, not to say that that's a bad thing, I'm just saying that like the bands we still listen to, the artists we still respect, have been doing it for a very, very long time. And the way they do it for a long time is just consistently releasing things. Whether they win the Grammy or no one listens to the album, they'll still put out the next one. And I think that is the thing that I've learned, which is key, is just consistency over all else.
I agree.
Yeah.
So, what did you study at Berkeley? Like composition, performance arts, or like the music business and guitar?
I did a double degree till a point, and then I stopped. But I did dual major in performance and music production and engineering.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like performance was just guitar playing basically, and music production and engineering, which is MP&E for short, was like studio stuff, like recording engineer, mixing, mastering, that sort of thing. And then I stopped the MP&E major in the last 2 semesters, like right before I left, and just focused on performance because I just wanted to. Misguided, I think. I wish I had actually finished MP&E, but the MP&E track was very much everyone I was surrounded by in those MP&E classes wanted to be a mix engineer or recording engineer. And I was just doing MP&E so that I could record myself, really.
Yeah.
And so it was getting a little like every time we'd record artists in the studio and we'd be sitting on the control room side, I would just be so jealous and envious of the musicians playing the session.
Oh,
Then I realized I was
okay.
like, okay, I think I just need to like, I think I need to like play music. I think I just want to do performance. And
I
play the
want to be on
guitar.
that
And so I
side.
stopped
Yeah.
doing that. Yeah, like really badly. Like I would just be so sad that I wasn't sitting on the other side playing the instrument. And so, and now I think I'm secure enough where I'm actually really enjoy being the recording engineer and doing some producing and stuff. But at the time, I think I just needed to like play. I needed to like get better, and it was good because I was not a good guitar player at all when I was at Berkeley. So, um, it was I needed to just like put my head down and play some guitar.
Yeah. So like understanding the craft you're doing, being damn good at that, and as well as understanding the business crux of it, both are important. None can be left behind. Right. It's
Yeah,
a 50-50.
I think so,
To understand the business stuff and as well as the craft stuff.
Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah. I mean, I think like you learn the business stuff over time. The important thing is just to be open to learning it, I think.
Cool.
Engage with it in a way. Like it feels annoying and messy and dirty and stuff, but like just engage with it in a way that is palatable to you. And you end up learning it. Like the folks who are doing well, my friends of mine who are doing very well, are people who just engaged with the business side of it as just a separate part of being a musician. It's not cheapening your music or anything. It's just a different part of you're in the industry. You got to play the industry. So.
Perfect. We released singles, a lot of albums. Like 2021, we released English, and that kind of went on charts and such stuff.
No. Charts in my kitchen. In my kitchen at home, there was a little chart. That's the chart.
A list of ingredients I need to make butter chicken.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Below that, it was just sad songs about identity.
How do you write and compose your own music? What's the process? Is there any process, or it's like random abstract, like something we're cooking butter chicken or having a 30 ml wine or whiskey or something, and then suddenly something strikes and you're like, okay, wait, let me grab my recorder and grab some.
No, it's not that. It's never that. I have a much like more boring way of writing that I've like imposed a couple of years ago, which is I try to write every day, which it doesn't happen. Obviously, like when I'm in India and visiting family, it doesn't happen. But when I'm working in New York, like when I'm home and I'm every day, like I'm at home, I try to schedule in at least 2 hours, 90 minutes to 2 hours max, for 90 minutes of writing. And I will try to finish anything that I do start. A lot of those things are not good, but I will try to, just for the exercise of writing. I think writing and creativity is a muscle you can flex and you can strengthen.
Exercise.
So the more you do it, the better you get at it, for sure. So that's what I'm trying to do, is just get better at it. So that's how I write a lot of my music, is just consistently writing it. The closest I've come to like a flash of like inspiration is if I'm writing something and then I'll be on the train or something, or on the subway or in a car, and I'll kind of be singing something because I was just working on it, and I sing something that I like, and I will then sing it into my phone. So my phone is like full of voice notes of me singing.
Same, yeah.
Very embarrassing things, yeah. And it's just like melodies. And actually a lot of the melodies on English, or a lot of the melodies in various songs, are basically me singing a voice note into a phone, and then like listening back, and then when the next day when I am back into writing in those 90-minute chunks, I will put up the phone and try to like demo that melody.
Let's see what
and
I'm
most of the time
recorded.
it actually works. Yeah, exactly. And like it'll be in the back of my mind, like it's not like I'll dig through my phone for inspiration. I'll know that the next day I have to go back and put this melody in, and especially for English, because it was during COVID, so there was not much happening. I was just like teaching, basically. There was no gigging and stuff. So just the only thing I was thinking about was my record, which is quite nice. That's not usual. The only music I was making, the only music I was listening to was English. It was, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
I will come to the last question. From your years of playing and collaborating with artists, playing with bands, touring, understanding a lot of aspects of the music industry, can you share like 3 practical ideas for every creative person who will be listening and is listening to this, that they can apply immediately into their life that's going to work well in their career? Any 3 practical advices you have understood and got?
Yeah, it's good. I'm going to take like a second to think about it so I don't just say random stuff. Because every time people, sometimes when you do listen to podcasts, when you do listen to podcasts, sometimes, someone will give an answer ready. And it's like, that was too quick. You know what I mean? Because I do want it to be practical, because I think back to how I was 10 years ago, let's say, moving to New York fresh.
I know.
The first thing I'd say is, if you want to pursue something and you want to be an artist and you want to release music, you should just start consistently working on it now. You're not going to be good at it. There's no way. I don't think I'm good at it, and I'm doing it for like 10 years or something. You're not going to be good at it right away, but you will get better at it the more you do it. So I don't think it makes sense, especially now where like content online is not like this, little bit. There's so much content everywhere that if you make something that isn't great, it'll just get lost in the noise. It's fine. You know what I mean? Like, it's not so precious anymore. Like in maybe 10 years ago, if you released an album, it was there. It wasn't going anywhere and everyone could find it. Now you release a record and no one really likes it. It's fine. It's like, you could take it off, it'll disappear. It's, whatever. But I think the exercise of trying to do the thing that you want to do, not waiting and just doing it enough and many times is underrated and understated. And like, I think if you just begin to do the things that you want to do, like let's say you are in your early 20s, for example, like I was, and I wanted to release music, I just made the decision, and I'm lucky and I'm glad that I was surrounded by other folks who were doing the same thing, where we're like, you know what, I'm just going to make a record. Why am I waiting for this? Like, I remember my EP that I made in college. One day I was like, I'm so insecure about my playing. I'm so worried about how I sound. I hate the way I solo. I hate the way I play. One day I was just like, I'm leaving music school. I'm just going to make an EP. So I hit up the best musicians, and I was so nervous. I was like terrified before that session. I didn't play a single solo in the entire EP, and it's my music, so I should have. But I just released it, and that EP actually really helped me get a little tour, and it was very, very helpful. And now, obviously, and I've taken it off all platforms now, like no one can hear it. But it was good for me at the time, and it informed all the other records I've made thus far. So the first thing I would say is just go for it and do it. You will get better at it. You may not be good at it now, you'll get better at it. The second thing I would say is don't again, this is me talking to myself as a early musician. I was so underconfident about my playing always, like about myself as a musician, about putting myself out there. I regret that a lot. I regret being so worried about what other people thought about my guitar playing. And what I learned later on is that it's just better to sound confident than even correct sometimes when you're playing. Like, the musicians who resonate with me the most make a ton of mistakes, but they're confident when they do it. And that, like, especially I notice this with drummers, but with anybody, it's like people who go for stuff. And I'm not saying overplay. Overplaying is the bane of my existence, but I do think going for things, and even the attempt, is what's exciting. It's not landing the thing. It's not landing that crazy fill. It's attempting the crazy fill or attempting the weird groove. That is what's rewarding. And I think going for stuff and being confident about yourself when you're playing, even when you're making mistakes, it's okay. I wish I was just playing. I was playing louder, and I was digging in more when I was younger, because the people that resonate with me the most are like the ones who dig in, they take chances, they're risky, and that's what's exciting. So that's the second thing. And the third thing I would say is just I think it's very dangerous to box yourself into a genre. And And I know it's hard, especially what I've noticed in the bigger cities. Sometimes in Delhi, in Bombay, what I've noticed is a lot of the venues are genre specific, which I wish that really wasn't the case. I wish we didn't have the jazz club and then the rock club, and then I wish it was just the music clubs. And this is everywhere, but this is everywhere in the world, of course. But I've been noticing it here more, where it wasn't the case 10 years ago, and now I feel like there's more of a separation, which is very, very weird. Like, I don't know why the places that have Sufi rock can't also have jazz. It just doesn't make sense to me. But as musicians, we shouldn't let that impact the way we think about music. And we should not, I think it's very dangerous to be like, I am a jazz musician, I just play jazz, or I only play this. I think it's like, unless you're coming from a discipline and a gharana of like Hindustani or Carnatic classical music, of course, then like you are steeped in a tradition. But if you're just a contemporary musician who is just a guitar player or drummer, I think it's very dangerous to box yourself into a genre. And I think it's critical to be open-minded about different things, and like not sticking your nose up on pop stuff, Bollywood stuff, and neither should you stay away from the more academic stuff. Whatever moves you, genuinely, authentically moves you, is something that you should pursue and listen to and try to play. And the more things you try to play, the more things you try to learn, the more things you try to transcribe in your own free time, will just make you better. It's not going to make you worse. So if you play Bollywood gigs and you really love jazz, but you do play some Bollywood stuff, use that as an opportunity to get better at certain things you're not good at. Like, what I realized playing wedding songs was my playing lacked the discipline of repetitive bop guitar playing, and I was so into this free improv jazz thing for a long time that I lacked the discipline in my playing to just stick to a part and just play the part for 4 minutes. And that's truly what I learned in playing pop music. There's something to be learned from everything, I guarantee it. At least from my perspective. I could be wrong. I truly think there's something to be taken away from anything, and we shouldn't be so whatever it is, I don't want to say snobbish or whatever. We shouldn't just be so zealous about a genre or two genres. I think we need to be more genre agnostic, and I wish I had done that more when I was also
generalizing
starting. Just generalize, just learning as much as you can. It'll just make you better. And you know, that way you can then work more. Like, when I was working weddings, I was playing wedding gigs, and I was playing symphony pops gigs, and I was playing modern jazz shows with my band and with other bands I was in, and we're doing all those things, and it just makes you better. It doesn't make you worse. It only makes you better. That's it. So yeah, I would say just be genre agnostic. I think it's good for you. And the musicians who you look up to, who are older, are this. There's no one, the people who we love, who we listen to a lot, they like all sorts of stuff. They're like bookworms for music. They just listen to so much music, they learn so much music, they like consume so much of it. It's just, like, yeah. I mean, it just makes you better. It helps you progress. It helps you change. It helps you be different over time.
Have like different perspectives and styles. Like a
and it helps you. Absolutely, and it just helps you evolve. Like, the musicians I like the most have evolved the most over their careers. Like John Mayer, for example, I keep going back to him because he was a big influence. He started off with this like singer-songwriter thing, and now he's like in his like Grateful Dead phase, and he's gone through like so many phases. He did like the blues rock thing, then the country thing, and then like this kind of like throwback 80s-y thing. It's just because he listens to so much music, it's very obvious that he just keeps going through phases, and those are the kind of artists I love the most. Or like, and there's so many musicians like that who just change, who are constantly changing, but because they're not limiting themselves to one style of music.
They're like ready to explore everything.
Yeah, exactly. And if you love jazz, then John Coltrane made my favorite things. The standard John Coltrane made famous as a jazz standard is a song also from The Sound of Music, which was a top 40s. It was like a pop song at the time that he made the standard. So John Coltrane was listening to pop music at the time and then made a standard. It's not like he was digging through cool harmony. He was just learned a song he liked that was probably famous at the time and then made a standard and now it's like such a famous Coltrane thing.
Yeah.
So like things like that are like, the musicians that we highly respect do this. They don't discriminate between genres. They like everything, or they like a lot of things at the same time. And I thought that in order to be a good modern jazz guitar player or a good guitar player, I had to stick to the very specific lane. I had to transcribe very specific things, and that was a mistake, I think. So those are my three tips.
Such a lovely point to end on. For the audience, I'm saying, like, as I say, like, he doesn't need an introduction. All his works, everything from social media to his website, everything will be listed down in the description. Please do check him out, DM him for guitar lessons. Do appreciate the music he does. There's a lot of hard work goes into behind everything, feeding a band, touring, everything, like you guys know, and Shubh himself knows. But Shubh, I'm not going to talk to you after this because you have not sent me the butter chicken and the whiskey yet. So please do that.
Yeah. I'll get on that. I'll send it in a package.
Yeah.
A leaking parcel, which is butter chicken whiskey.
Hey, gir raha hai.
Yeah. Yeah.
The delivery guy will come. Hey, gir gaya. Something like that. So.
Yeah.
It was a really delight to have you on the session. Thank you so much for the time. You're in Delhi right now, and you'll be moving back once again. So all the best for whatever you do in the future endeavors, and whenever you like release an album or something, we'll once again like disturb you, mail you, and have you on the session once again.
Yeah, please. Yeah, all the best for the podcast. I'm so glad you're doing it. It's
it's an honor. It's an honor having you on the show.
Of course. I'm just glad that this exists. It's great. Great that you're doing it.
Thank you so much for the time and all the lovely points you shared with all of the audience, especially me, because it's necessary.
Of course.
All right. Thank you so much. Let's call it a day then. I'll see you probably in the future and work on the butter chicken, please.
Yeah, definitely. I'll get started on that now.
Thank you. Cheers, man. Take care.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. Bye-bye. See you.